Did you know that every business owner hits resistance? But what if you could break through it faster? On my next episode of Profit with a Plan, I'm sitting down with Justin Goodbread, an international best-selling author, keynote speaker, and a business growth expert who has taken his own financial services firm from 0 to 8 figures in just 49 months. Justin knows firsthand how resistance affects business owners differently, and more importantly, how he got a framework to help you regain control and stop and build an unstoppable momentum. In today's episode, you're going to learn why resistance is different for every business owner and how to push through it, a proven framework to regain control and accelerate growth, and of course, real life stories of entrepreneurs who overcame obstacles and won. So if you feel stuck in your business, this episode is exactly what you need to shift from resistance to results. Hey, business owners, if you're ready to boost your profits and grow your business, well, welcome to Profit with a Plan. That's where we share strategies to help you scale your company, increase profitability, and set you up for a successful exit. I'm your host, Marcia Riner, a business growth strategist and the profit booster behind Infinite Profit. I've helped countless entrepreneurs to build highly profitable and sale-ready businesses. That means more profits now and a bigger payout later on. Today's episode is sponsored by Infinite Profit, where we don't just talk profit, we deliver it. But before we get started, I have something special to share with you. If feeling like you're doing everything right, but still not seeing the results you want, well, it might be time for a fresh perspective. That's why I'm offering a free growth and marketing audit. And in just one session, we'll uncover the opportunities to drive real growth in your business. And if you're ready to make that impact, visit profitbooster.biz and let's get started. All right, I'm excited to have my guest on today. Let's get started. So Justin Goodbread is an international best-selling author and keynote speaker. His passion is to help business owners overcome resistance in their lives. He spent the last 3 decades building attractive businesses in the service industry, including financial services firm that he scaled from 0 to 8 figures in just 49 months. Justin is an enthusiastic coach with a mission to help resilient business owners achieve their biggest goals. Justin, welcome to the show.
Hey, Marcia, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, I always like to start this off here and ask how you kind of got into this lane, right? Resistance and finding that kind of wall that we keep hitting all the time. It's not a normal space you just kind of fall into, is it?
No, absolutely not. So I've been a business owner for over 30 years. I started my first business when I was 15. It was a landscaping company, which basically meant I had a lawnmower and a pickup truck. And my dog, my brother, and I drove around and cut grass. Ended up scaling that company and sold it when I was 21. Relocated to East Tennessee from South Georgia and built a insurance-based business where I was selling life insurance and disability. And then somebody bought it from me. Well, I found myself then building a consulting practice to help dentists buy practices, scale them, and sell their practices. And then some national firm came and said, "Hey, man, we see what you built here. We want to buy it." I was like, wow, okay. So I had already started 3 different companies in 3 different marketplaces.
Totally different companies, by the way.
Oh, yeah. But it was just, business is business, and business is applicable for what I call the service industry. And so all those whenever I say service industry, we serve people through either our product or our service. Typically, it's the person has their name where they're handshaking providing a handshake to somebody and providing a service. Well, I found myself quickly in the financial services industry, actually working in the stock world, the financial planning world, whatever the term is you want to use there, and hated it. Hated it. Because I'm a business owner, and I firmly believe as a business owner that I can do better than those yahoos on Wall Street with my money. I've proven to myself that I can grow wealth much quicker than the S&P 500 or whatever else. And most business owners agree with me on this. So I found myself in this financial world, and I began talking like I'm talking now. And I looked like a calf looking at a new gate out on a farm, and people thought I was crazy. Well, that led me to where I ended up coaching business owners on how they could use the tax code, how they could use value acceleration methodologies in order to grow their value of their company. And literally after 18 months, a national firm came and said, brother, we want your business. So how did I end up consulting business owners? It happened after 30 years of building various types of companies, 6 different companies, scaling a 7th company in 18 months from a mid 8-figure valuation to a 9-figure valuation as the president of a
Wow.
firm using these same methodologies. And now I have the honor and privilege to speak to my brothers and sisters who are on the front lines running business, charging hell with a water pistol, putting their name on the line, their reputation, their family on the line. And I bring a message of, I hope, encouragement, but also reality. And I hope we'll be talking through a lot of this today. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
I love it. What a history, right? Thank goodness you didn't, start with the lemonade stand, but we all know we did something like that. That's the nature of being an entrepreneur is you've just got to keep going, right? You just got to keep pushing through those walls that you get. And when you do it right, it's attractive to other people. They want to come in and they either want to follow you and join on with you, or they come in and go, "Hey, I'd like to buy your company."
What's intriguing to me, though, at this phase of the game, Marcia, is that the vast amount of our brothers and sisters on the front line, us business owners, in the United States, there's 33 million of us roughly that own service-based companies that employ somebody.
Hmm.
Not necessarily solopreneurs, but we have an employer too. And out of those 33 million business owners, the vast majority, only about 18 to 20% of us will ever be able to exit our companies for a value. That means that the vast majority of people who are listening to mine of your conversation right now, though they're highly successful, they have weathered the storms, they have the bruises, they have the cuts, they have all the success that many people admire of us business owners. But we built this empire that provides a good income. But unless we change the paradigm a little bit, we're going to be handcuffed. We're going to be burdened by our business and not be able to exit our business for ultimately the value that we need to maintain the lifestyle. So, yes, it does require a lot of resistance. I mean, it does. I'm sorry, it does require a lot of resilience, rather. I don't think that's the problem with us as business owners. It's not the resilience. It's the matter of knowing which battles to fight that's ultimately going to lead us to the destination we truly desire within our hearts. That's the hard
Right.
part.
I agree 1,000%. I jokingly say we have for many of us those what did you call it? 82% of the rest of the world out there that own small businesses. We've created another job with the worst boss in the world, us, and the worst employee in the world, us, and we get in our own way and end up slaving in another job and then closing the doors later on without any kind of ROI except for what I've earned trading time for money throughout my life.
Michael
It's
Gerber
sad.
wrote famously in his book E-Myth, he said, most of the time we end up working for a lunatic, and the lunatic is ourself, right? Exactly what you just
Exactly.
said. Yeah, the reality
Exactly.
is that anytime we don't have a clear destination on where we're trying to achieve or where we're trying to go, and the destination might be a milestone, it might be a revenue number, it might be an employment size, it might be a firm or company size, it may be a net worth, it may be an age, whatever the milestone is. Whenever we have a clear destination of that milestone that we're trying to achieve, and we set it out there with crystal clarity, now we can begin working toward that. But as we're along this journey, we've got to prepare ourselves for the what if contingencies. We got to prepare
Mm.
ourselves for what if somebody comes in because you built a dynamic business and they offer you a ludicrous type of money. And you're like, yeah, I'd be stupid not to take this. Or what if COVID happens again and we get shut down? Or heaven forbid, what if, like in my case, I found my wife laid up in the hospital, not expecting her to live? And here
Mm.
I'm a successful business owner, and it changed my paradigm around. So as we're on this journey, making the income that we desire and impacting the lives and helping our employees and our communities and our charities, that all of us as business owners just get up in the morning. We, like I said, charge hell with a water pistol to make it happen. We've got to have destination in mind. We've got to know what are specifically are we working for and how every day is going to drive us one step closer to that destination.
I love this. This kind of stuff gets me going in the morning to talk about direction. Honestly, that's why profit with a plan, because I'm just this, forever planner in doing it. But I think that sets the framework for the success that we want to have, right? And it gives us that opportunity to say, are we there yet? Did we make the wrong turn? Do I need to make a U-turn? Where am I going? And then when we have all that, also, we can bring the crew, whoever that could be, along with us on the ride so they make it easier.
I would illustrate it this way. The way that I would judge the success of the business owner would be based on value.
Mm.
What is the value of your company today? All of us have a value of some sort. If you have a website, there's value to your company. You could sell literally your website, maybe worth a penny, but you can sell it. So all of us have a company that's worth something. Ultimately, what value does your company need to be for you to achieve your wildest dreams? I can
Mm.
remember sitting at the age of 18 at a Zig Ziglar conference where he's on the stage and he's priming the pump, man. I mean, he's taking that pump and he's going up and down saying, you've got to help others accomplish everything they want in life, and you can get everything out of your life you want. And in that conference, he made a challenge. As an 18-year-old, he said, Justin, or he didn't say me, he said, in the audience, I want you to take a sheet of paper out and write your wildest dreams down on what you want to achieve. And I
Hmm.
can remember sitting there, Marcia, I sit there and I said, I would love to be married to the same woman and have kids at the age of 40. That was my goal. It's like, great. I didn't want to go through a divorce. I've seen how heartache that people who go through that. I didn't want to experience that. So I put that number one. I want to be married to a beautiful girl and have a nice family. Number two, I wanted to write a New York Times bestseller. Haven't got that yet. I got a number one Wall Street Journal. I have an international bestseller, not New York Times yet. And then number three, I wanted to be a decamillionaire. Want to reach $10 million in net worth. Now, to me, I thought that was ludicrous. Here I am, 18, saying, man, how in the world could someone on a dirt road in South Georgia actually grow and have a net worth of 10 million? And as life moved, as business grew, as I began doing what all of us do in business, trying to scale our companies, I was reminded of that simple sheet of paper I wrote down at the age of 18 at the age of 37. At the age of 37, I'm sitting on a mountaintop with a longtime business owner. He looks at me with almost tears in his eyes. He was second generation. His family had been in business for over 45 years in a rural part of the Appalachians of West Virginia. And he says, Justin, I'm broke.
Oh,
And I looked at him and I said, so and so, wait a second. We're on top of a vista on hundreds of acres that the man owns, looking down at his lot, which had a ton of multi-million dollar equipment on the lot. And I said, but look at what we have. He said, well, I'm not going to sell my homestead. So that's not giving me income. And I got this equipment laid down in the field. And if I sell, I got recapture tax. For those of you who have dealt with business, we have recapture tax. Justin, I'm broke. The only way for me to actually continue the lifestyle I have is for me to work till I'm dead. I don't want to do that.
mm.
And Marcia, I was sitting on the mountaintop and my mind flashed back to that Zig Ziglar conference on this dream that I had. And I'm like, you know what? And I literally screamed at the top of my lungs, enough. Like he looked at me and I said, I'm there with you. And he goes, dude, you're not broke. I said, no, I had these dreams that I wanted to accomplish. You're broke. Let's work together. Let's find a strategy that can scale us to where we desire to be, where you don't feel like you're broke in the early 60s, and where I can go back to my promise to my 18-year-old self at a Zig Ziglar conference. Fast forward 4 years, he and I both reached decamillionaire status. Now, what did we do? This is business
That's the
owners.
$10 million question.
Business owners, here's where I want you to pull a pen and paper out because this is what matters for all of us. First thing we did was we identified how much our companies were worth today.
Mm.
What's the value today?
Hmm.
There's lots of tools online you can use for free. There's lots of things out there that you can go online and get. It's pretty easy to find out what your company's worth.
Hmm.
And whatever it says, just discount it by 20% or so, just to be safe.
Easy.
Okay, easily. Cool. So we know what our company's worth today. But here's where this hard part comes in. What could it be worth if we were best in class, we didn't produce any more revenue? Okay, let me define that. For a company that has, let's say, $1 million in revenue, they may have a value of, let's say, $3-4 million. But what if we could move that multiple, the way the value is created off the revenue point? What if we could increase it without increasing revenue? That's a best-in-class company. So the way I describe it when I'm on stage and I'm talking is I think a good piece of garden hose. We all know what a garden hose is. We water the yard or flowers here in the summertime. A garden hose can only move roughly about 8 to 12 gallons of water per minute through a garden hose. That's just pure data points. Wouldn't it
Okay,
be
that's a
crazy?
landscaper talking.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But Marcia, wouldn't it be crazy if we tried to hook the garden hose up to a fire hydrant? That wouldn't
It's
make
still
any sense.
no, but it still only have so much space to go through.
So we deal with velocity and pressure. What happens for us business owners is we look at that value and we're like, holy crap, my value's not high enough. So what do? We go out and try to increase our sales. We go out and try to sell more. And all we've done is we've taken that garden hose, which can only handle about 8 to 10 gallons of water per minute going through it, and we've attached it to the proverbial fire hydrant. And what happens? That garden hose blows up. It doesn't work. So, but
Mm.
what if instead of trying to increase the revenue, we increased the diameter of the garden hose? What instead we made it bigger? That's the multiple within the company. That's the things that drive the value of a company. So for my buddy and I, we started looking at his company, and literally in my case, I walked away from a company, $250,000 a year recurring revenue, walked away from it and started a business from scratch, saying, how do I build systems, processes that are directly attributable to creating value?
Are your podcast guest appearances leading to real business, or are you just hoping that listeners will take action? With the Profit Booster Podcast Monetization Hub, we turn your interviews into lead generating machines so that you capture, nurture, and convert listeners into paying clients. So stop leaving money on the table and get started today at profitboosterpod.com.
Not attributed to trying to get more income, not attributed to try to get more profit, not attributed to try to keep more clients, none of that nonsense. And that we need all that stuff. I'm not saying it's bad nonsense, but how do I actually attack the value, the multiple of the company? So that's called a value gap, Marcia. Let me pause there
Love
and see
it.
if you have any clarifying questions so far.
I love it. I love it. So, okay. So this is really great. It's an eye opener. Instead of chasing the revenue and trying to do more, which is the answer for most business owners. It's if I just make one more phone call, if I just make one more sale, if I just landed that deal, if we just got that one employee, it's always one more, right? But this isn't a one more. This is a structure conversation that if you had it sounds like, and I know you're going to come up with those answers, but if you just had the right structure to open up that hose to be able to deliver more, then when you added that one more call and everything else, it sounds like it might be a better answer. And the thing that I'm afraid business owners are missing is that there's two ways of growing your company, right? There's the what am I doing right now, and what is it worth later on? Right? Because if you're putting your blood, sweat, tears, nights, weekends, savings, stress, and everything else into this company, and you're probably not pulling out more than your income, what is it worth, right? And if you could sell it later on for something, hopefully something really nice, then you're working towards that goal. And I think that's the base of this conversation that we want to continue on is to give you that detail. So I wanted to make sure we had it all into a clear understanding because your stories are fantastic, but this is really, really powerful information.
Well, the way that I would drive that point home even further is let's look at our pocketbook. My wife has a pocketbook, and inside there, she has a change purse. In that change purse, I'm sure there's a quarter. A quarter has two sides. It has a heads and a tails. So does a business. A business has two sides when it comes to value. It has the revenue component. Now, some businesses track EBITDA. Some people track net operating income. Some businesses track SDE. Today's not a valuation lesson, but there are two components. One is a revenue number, and the other is a multiple component. Most of us go out and we try to attack the revenue component by working harder, but the reality is we can't work any harder. We're already working our fingers to the bones. We're working 90
Exactly.
hours a week. So what we have to do is we have to focus on the things that drive the value that doesn't require us to work harder. That's the multiple. Now,
Mm.
underneath that multiple component, there's 256 different measurements. The way in my office, in my studio where I'm at today, there's a soundboard over here, a professional soundboard, and it's got little sliders up. We've seen it perhaps at our church or at a music concert. When we go there, there's sliders. There's 256 little things that we can move in a company that if we turn one or push one of them up, it has a positive and negative reaction somewhere else in the company. So everything that we do is going to have both positive and negative results. Some of the results could be short-term or long-term, or some of the effects could be short-term or long-term.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we're working to drive our value of our company, and where a value advisor comes in, is we'll say, okay, you're about $2 million off from being best in class. No more revenue, but if we just move these 36 things over the course of the next 2 years, we could add $2 million more value to your company. There's little measurements that we could check. So go back to my Mountaintop friend. After we tore his company apart, we identified there were 17 things that he needed to do in his company. The very first thing was he needed to replace his office manager. His happened to be his oldest sister. So he literally walked in and fired his oldest sister. So his oldest sister's gone. We had a right office manager in place, somebody who could decentralize him from the day-to-day ops of the company. Number one move. Once we did that, we began the snowball effect. 4 years later, he's a decamillionaire. So in our businesses, for those of us who are business owners, we understand there's a value, and we understand our company could grow in value. But here's why all that matters. Because at some point in our life, we control freaks, us business owners, because we like to control everything. We ultimately want to control our exit. It makes no sense to me. Here's a soapbox. I'm going to warn you in advance, friends. It makes absolutely no sense to me that we're the most controlling people in the world, and we control everything in our company except for how we exit our company.
You know why? You know, my theory on that is
Please.
that they don't think about it until they're ready to do it, right? It's not like selling your home where you put some new flowers in the front yard, slap a fresh coat of paint on. Yeah, it's not that. And that's the thing that really bugs me, is that they wait too long to think about their exit rather than thinking about it on day one, like you just did on this, I guess I want to say, last version of your company.
Yeah, so I want to bring that home to a major point. And the point is in real estate, is usually you're talking about selling your home. I remember back in the 80s, Century 21 made this thing very popular. They said, location, location, location. Now it's been repeated a dozen times or hundreds of times. In fact, you're shaking your head. You've heard it. Everybody's heard
Yep.
location, location,
Yep.
location. In business, it's about timing, timing, timing. Always, always timing, timing, timing. So here's the point I want to drive home. So I'm sitting on a mountaintop. I'd already had 3 successful exits. But I had this goal that I had written and committed to myself at age 18 that I thought was impossible. Candidly speaking, how in the world can a country boy born and raised on a dirt road in South Georgia, who barely wore shoes half of his life, accomplish a decamillionaire status? And I'm just being completely authentic, friends. Whenever I discovered there's 2 sides of the coin, I couldn't work any harder, but I knew that I could design systems and processes that drove value. Everything had to drive value. We worked hard in the company. We launched it from scratch, and here we are 3 years into the company. The 3-year outlook after a launch of a firm, and the most complicated industry there is in the financial advisory space, the 3-year outlooks showed me I was actually taking 4 months off per year, making mid 6 figures, and the J curve was through the roof, except for the fact that my wife we found out she had a major issue because of COVID, and we're laid up in the hospital. And she honestly thought she was going to go meet Jesus. We honestly thought she was gone. In fact, our doctor said, make sure you have your legal documents in place and make sure you have all your systems in place. 12% chance of success in her surgery.
Wow.
She's healthy today. Thank God. She's healthy and miraculous events. Let me get that out of the way. But at that time, a dark time. Now, my company is growing 45% that year without me being there. My company's growing. Why? Because the systems, the process all drive value. But in that moment, my wife looks at me, and this is not me beating my chest. This is me being extremely authentic, which I hope you would respect. She said, Justin, what's another $1 million going to do for us? We live on a dirt road. We just country folk, man. I drive an F-150. It's just little life. I said, it's not going to do anything for us. I went back to my business coach, because I think every business owner should have a coach. I believe that with all my heart. I went back to my business coach, and I told him what my wife said. Then he asked me this powerful question. I'll leave you this question, and I want you to ponder. And I could not answer it in that moment. Now, at this point in my life, scaling companies, selling companies, written national awards, or national books, award-winning books, Wall Street Journal #1 bestseller, more awards you could shake a stick at. And he asked me this question that literally kicked me in the teeth. Marcia, he said, Justin, if you had unlimited time and unlimited resources, what would you do tomorrow that you're not doing today?
Mm.
And in my analytical brain, the way I processed it was, well, I don't have unlimited time. My wife's in the hospital about to die. I don't have unlimited time. I'm going to have to restructure my life. And I'll be lucky if I make it age 60 like my dad did. So I don't
Mm.
have that. And unlimited resources. Why didn't he say money? Why did it say resources? Then am I being dissecting resources? Well, resources could be influence, it could be prestige, it could be health, it could be wealth, it could be a number of things. I paused and I said, I don't know. And he said, then it's time for you to consider exiting your company. I said, yeah, but I didn't reach my goal. And he said, you passed your goal a year ago, brother. Now, what's next in your life? So timing for us as business
Mm.
owners, if we can really control our future and we think about it, there will be a point out of, I hope, your decision where you have the opportunity like I did, perhaps not the same circumstance, so hopefully not. Hopefully you and your family are healthy. But in my case, my wife's up in the hospital. I'm like, there's no way I can do this. But because I built a business based on value, not based on everything else that the world does, that every other business owner out there does, the business ended up being about 3x the value of the average financial advisory practice out there, all
Wow.
because it's based on value. And now I have the honor and privilege. My wife's better now. My children are now moving out of the house. And I'm like, my brothers and sisters out there, friends, I've like my dad used to do to me. He'd grab me by my shoulders and he'd shake me and say, son, listen to me. My heart breaks because so many of you, I wish I could just put my arms around you and just shake you by the shoulders and say, stop, look, if you sincerely want to control your future, take a hard look. What's your company worth today? What could it be worth tomorrow? If you just made some internal adjustments, now let's go out and prepare you for that ultimate exit so that you can leave on your terms.
Yay. Yay. I hear the Southern in you and I hear the church in you, and I love every bit of it because you're really just sharing value and ideas that I know business owners aren't hearing right now from the regular. They're hearing strategies and tactics and let's go do this and let's add that. And oh, AI. Oh, wait, we got to chase this. Oh, they're doing that. So we need to do that too. They're chasing rather than sitting back and recognizing that what is it that I really want out of this company, right? And how do I make that happen? And finding the right partnership with someone like yourself that can actually drive that value. And I would have loved to sit down and said, okay, Justin, tell me, give me five, just five of the what did you say? There was
It's
250.
256.
Yeah,
256. I'll give you
256.
two
I
real
was like,
quick.
was it that high? 256 value levers that you can pull in your company right now.
I'll give you two real quick because I know we're running out of time. First one is owner dependence. Number one, owners
Of
have to be
course.
centralized. Now, whenever I say that, you just shook your head because we always hear, but how do we do it? There's a
How is
process
it
to
more fun?
actually making this work. This is what we coach our clients on. Number two, recurring revenue. That is a major, we all know we should do it. Most of us business owners don't do it because we don't think it's possible. Friends, I've yet to see a company that cannot have recurring revenue. Just those two alone, if you just implemented that properly, you could end up moving your business up maybe a point or two on the multiple side. So
I
there's
love it.
256 different measurements that we teach on how to do it within our coaching programs. But yes, you're right. We've got to become aware. And then ultimately we have to, as business owners, get crystal clear on what we want.
Mm.
Because the
What are we
academic on
doing
how to
this
do,
for?
yeah, well, the academic doesn't matter, Marcia. It doesn't matter unless we can align the academia to the desire.
Mm. And that desire doesn't mean it's the one that's going to carry you through the next 30 years of your life. It could be the desire for just this year. It could be the desire for this month, for the next 5 years. So your desire can change, but if you don't have that piece, then how are you ever going to move the needle?
Absolutely correct. Well said. Very well said.
I love it. All right, Justin, this is so good. It's like I want to be there with you so you could shake me and shake everybody around by the shoulders and go, "Wake up and what are you doing this for and how do we get you there, right?" Um, but you know what? Many people are all over the US, they're all over the world listening to this podcast. So where can listeners find out more about you and your value-driven ideas to make companies grow in a way that gives you money now and money later on?
Absolutely. So check out justingoodbread.com. That's the center hub. We have a blog there that has all sorts of fun articles on it. But if you Google my name, there's not that many Justin Goodbreads in the world, I promise you. If you Google my name, you'll find me on YouTube and a podcast, and we teach literally over 600 episodes on how to actually accomplish this, as well as we offer a free strategy call for those business owners who are like, hey, I'm trying to figure out how to rapidly scale my company, and here are the problems. So you can go to justingoodbread.com/free call and book some time with one of our team members, and they'll hop on a call, and here's what you'll experience. We're going to talk about the pain points you're dealing with today, and ultimately, where do you desire to be? That's a fun conversation. And during that conversation, our strategist will say, well, based on this conversation, here's how we believe our services can help you. Or they'll say, man, you're rocking it. Like we had that conversation this last week. You're rocking it. Keep going down this road, man. I'd love to talk to you in a year from now when you accomplish this. So they'll leave you better or leave you alone, like the old country saying says. They'll help you on that phone call. So perhaps you're a business owner who's just trying to figure out which direction to go. Maybe it's time to go to justingoodbread.com/free call.
Love it. Love it. And I think, making that call may seem a little scary, right? But what are you doing? Where are you going to be next year if you don't make that call? And I think that's the piece that people fear the most is like, I'm going to be sold hard, but you're not. You're getting information so that you can move your needle on your business and get to where you want to be. Nobody does it alone. We all have help. The greatest athletes have coaches. The greatest business owners have coaches and mentors. And we would encourage you to reach out to Justin and get some help on that. I love it. All right, listeners, thanks for tuning in today. I hope you found some valuable insights and actionable ideas that you can use to help your business become more profitable. And I think that, Justin's idea of looking at your business from the two sides of the coin, right? What kind of revenue am I making today? But what's the value of that company tomorrow, today, tomorrow, next year, 5 years, whenever you want to leave it on your own terms. So, all right. As I mentioned earlier, it might be time for a fresh perspective, and that's why we're offering a free growth and marketing audit. And if you remember, in just one powerful session, we'll uncover some opportunities to drive real growth in your business. So if you're ready to make an impact, visit profitbooster.biz and let's get started. Don't forget to subscribe. You don't want to miss future shows. You can always find Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. We're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thank you so much, Justin. This was an amazing conversation.
Thanks for having me.